Hello, I'm Earl Taylor, Chief Marketing Officer at the Marketing Science Institute. As many of you know, nonprofit MSI serves as the bridge between marketing theory and business practice, and our goal is to move the needle on significant marketing problems. We do this by funding research by leading academics worldwide on topics voted by our corporate sponsors and disseminating that research through members-only events and a variety of publications. I'm very pleased to welcome you to another MSI For Members by Members webinar. This is a series of webinars on subjects related to MSI's current research priority topics. And first, I'd like to point out the Chat with Presenter function on the left-hand corner of your screen. Please use this feature to send through any questions you have for Ray during the presentation. We'll gather the questions and have a brief Q&A session following the presentation. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to today's featured speaker. Ray Burke is the E.W. Kelly Professor at Indiana University's Kelly School of Business and a founding director of the school's Customer Interface Laboratory, which is a state-of-the-art facility for investigating how customers interact with new retail environments and technologies. Ray has spoken for us at many MSI events, focusing on his work in the area of shopper marketing, what he's now calling shoppability. His research focuses on point-of-purchase factors, new products, packaging, pricing, promotions, and so forth, on consumer shopping behavior. His articles have appeared in various journals, including the Harvard Business Review, Journal of Consumer Research, and Journal of Marketing, and he is co-author of the book AdStrat, an Advertising Decision Support System. CNN Fortune has recognized Ray as one of the top 50 business school teachers in the world, so we're very pleased to have him here today. Prior to his appointment at Indiana, he served at the Harvard Business School and at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School. He has also consulted for a number of leading companies in various areas of marketing, and his virtual shopping technology, which he'll be sharing with us, has been used by market research firms around the world. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Ray, and we'll look forward to the webinar.
Well, thank you, Earl. I'm delighted to be here, and I appreciate the support that MSI has provided for my work and all of the marketing scholars over the years. I was thinking back today as I was getting ready for the call, and some of the early work that we did on virtual shopping that was conducted with Barbara Kahn and Len Lodish and Barry Harlem was supported by MSI, and some of the work that we did in artificial intelligence with Jerry Wind and Joshua Leisberg and Arvind Ramaswamy. Again, it's just an honor and privilege to be here participating. So what I thought I would do just first is say a little bit about the Customer Interface Laboratory. And it's actually the 20th anniversary of the lab. Let me bring it up on the screen here. So the focus of the lab is understanding the influence of the retail environment on shopper behavior. And we've done that in various ways. One is to bring the retail store into the laboratory. So we've created mock store environments where we have physical shelf displays in the lab, and we bring in shoppers to interact with them. We've used virtual reality simulations, so we have a facility called the VR Theater where we can create wall-sized simulations. And we've simulated mass retail stores and grocery stores, specialty retail stores. But sometimes you need to go into the physical store if you're looking at issues involving crowding or social influence. And so we've brought the lab into the store, sometimes using the existing cameras that are in stores, which are typically used for property loss prevention, but we've used those to study how shoppers navigate through the store and where they stop and how they engage with the product category. And in some cases, we bring in our own cameras. So we've done work recently with 3D cameras that can measure not just where the shopper is standing, but also where they're looking, the direction of their head, how their arms are moving, extending to interact with the products. What I'd like to focus on today is the customer experience. You know, over the last few years, there's been so much talk about the importance of creating a great customer experience. But how do we know the quality of the shopping experience. And if there's a problem, what are some of the ways that we can improve the experience? So I'll be reviewing a variety of research methods, including attitudinal research. There's work that I've done with Neil Morgan, who's a colleague here at Indiana University, creating a shoppability scorecard. Behavioral research that we've done as we track shoppers navigating through the store. Eye tracking research. I'll be sharing some of the work that I've done with my colleague Alex Lakin here at Indiana University. And then there's a new technique that I've started to work on just recently, which is shelf interaction analysis, where we look not just at where shoppers are standing and how they navigate through the store, but also how they interact with the shelf, which products they pick up, the sequence of interaction, and some of the insights that generates for us. And that's work that's been done with Sandeep Chandukala at SMU, Singapore Management University, and Oyvind Christensen at Flow Insights. So let's look first at some of the challenges that customers face when they're shopping in our stores. One is product proliferation and duplication. The Food Marketing Institute reported last year that the average supermarket had 42,000 different SKUs in their stores. And yet when you go into the consumer's home and you look in their kitchen, you look in the pantry, you look in the bathroom, they typically buy only about 200 to 300 different items in a given year. And so what that means is that when they're shopping in the store, only about 1 in 100 of those items is relevant to any particular consumer household. Now, retailers and manufacturers might say, well, all of those products are relevant to the consumer. They just haven't recognized it yet. But that's not how the consumer sees it. There was a study done recently by Consumer Reports. They surveyed their subscribers, and they found that 36% of their subscribers were overwhelmed by the grocery shopping experience. When you look at some of the categories, one of my favorites is the cereal category. I've done a number of projects over the years in cereal. And just looking at Cheerios, there are 11 different varieties of Cheerios across different categories. Here are a few examples. Head and Shoulders, 25 different types of just Head and Shoulders shampoo. A second challenge for shoppers is product complexity and change. You know, so many products today are based on technology which is changing quickly. So these products are often on a 6 to 12 month replenishment cycle. And consumers are concerned, is the product going to become obsolete? You know, can I go ahead and buy it now? You look at televisions, for example. So we've had, we started out with CRTs, right? So we went to LCD TVs, LED, 3D TVs, 4K TVs, smart TVs, and yet you look at the shelf display and they all look the same. Confusing promotions. You know, it used to be when you'd go to the store, if you see a product that was on promotion, you pick it up, you go to the cash register, and you get the discount. But that's not how it works today. I mean, so many times you need to have a loyalty card, or you need a coupon or a rebate. So it's more complex. I just received a flyer from Bed Bath & Beyond, and they had a promotion, a $5 off coupon, which is great. I can think of a lot of things that I'd like to buy for $5 at Bed Bath & Beyond. But then when you look at the coupon and you read the fine print, well, I've got to buy something at least $15 or more. Okay, well, that's fine. I think that's fair. But then you start to dig into the fine print, and there are all of these restrictions on using the coupon. There's actually 3 pages of exclusions for the coupon. And I've been in stores where a shopper is trying to buy something, and they're arguing with the sales clerk about whether they can use a coupon. Another challenge is ineffective signage and excessive clutter. I did a project a few years ago with a toy retailer, and they were concerned that their signage in their stores was not working as well as they had hoped. So we did an exit interview. We intercepted shoppers as they were leaving the store and asked them about the signs. And people said, what signs? We didn't see any signs. The store was filled with signs, but they just weren't relevant for the consumer, and so they weren't noticing them. You look at this display. What am I supposed to look at here? It's overwhelming. There's been so much focus on brand activation and increasing engagement, but when you have all of these products shouting at the consumer, they start to tune out. They don't pay attention to anything. We did a project. We've done several projects on checkout, working with Time Inc. And one of the studies, we varied the assortment of products that were available at checkout. And as you increase the assortment, the overall level of attention to the fixture actually went down. And it's just the different products were stealing visual attention from each other. Another issue is that products are often hard to find or out of stock. It's estimated that 10% of retail sales are lost due to out-of-stock conditions. Here's a picture from a retailer where the shelf looks picked over. And the problem is that often when you're out of stock is the busiest time of the week. And then there's a concern about poor service. Some retailers will say, well, maybe my store is not as shoppable as it needs to be, but the salesperson will save the sale. But often the salespeople are poorly paid. There's high turnover. They don't get a lot of training. And as a consequence, consumers often experience significant stress while they're shopping. There was a study done by Data Monitor where they found that 47% of consumers experience significant stress while shopping. Shopping should be fun. It should be, consumers shouldn't be anxious about the experience. It leads to procrastination. For some products, it takes up to 9 months from the time that the shopper recognizes that they have a need to actually making a purchase. You can have a baby in 9 months. Reduced shopping frequency and duration, low purchase conversion rates. Now, if you look at mass retail or supermarket, almost 100% of the people who go into the store buy something. But for specialty retail stores, often the conversion rate is 15 to 25%, which means that 75% of the people are walking in and leaving without buying anything. And for department stores, the conversion rate can be as low as 5%. So how do we fix the problem? I think that it's key to understand how do customers shop the store. What are their needs and desires? What goals do they bring into the store? How do they interact with the store environment? What are the points of friction, the obstacles to purchase in the store, and the opportunities to engage shoppers? Now, as Earl had mentioned, we've been focusing on this topic of retail shoppability for the last 10 or 15 years. And what I mean by shoppability is the capacity of the retail environment to translate consumer demand into purchase. And there are two components of this. The first is engagement. And I talk about engagement today, and it's all over the press. But 10 years ago, there wasn't so much attention on this topic. But engagement is the making consumers' needs salient at the point of purchase. Now, sometimes shoppers come into your store and they know exactly what they're looking for. But more often the case, they have more diffuse needs, or they have latent needs that need to be activated. And then once you've engaged the shopper, we need to turn those people into buyers. Now, this concept of shoppability has really resonated with companies. And I think the reason is because it helps to align the interests of manufacturers, retailers, and consumers. From the manufacturer's perspective, a shoppable store is one that clearly communicates the benefits and value of the products that are being sold. From the retailer's perspective, a shoppable store is one that has a convenient and enjoyable shopping experience that satisfies customers and encourages them to be loyal to come back in the future. And for the consumer, a shoppable store is all about satisfying their needs and desires, so it's clearly a benefit for the consumer. So unlike the term shopper marketing, which has been used in a variety of ways, and people have different perspectives on who really benefits from it, I think that a focus on shoppability can potentially serve all three of these parties. So how do we improve the shoppability of the store experience? Well, we've done a variety of different types of research. We've done case study research. There was a book that was published. This was a project that I collaborated with Paula Payton on, and it was publication of the Retail Industry Leaders Association. was sponsored by Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and Johnson & Johnson. And we looked around the world at best practices, ways that retailers were innovating to improve the customer experience, and identified a whole set of factors that would influence shopper behavior. And in combination with a review of secondary research, both in academia and in industry, we identified 70 different aspects of the store environment that influence the shopper. And here are some of the higher level dimensions. So looking at these, how do we know if we're doing a good job on these various aspects of shoppability? Well, the research tools, as I'd mentioned, we can do attitudinal research, we can do behavioral research. So let's start with attitudinal research. The easiest thing to do if you want to get some feedback on the quality of the customer experience is to talk with shoppers, right? We can do surveys or exit interviews or focus groups with people or monitor what they're saying in social media. There's a project that I did with Neil Morgan, and Neil is an expert on marketing strategy and category management and business performance evaluation. And we developed a scorecard to measure shoppability. So we had a panel of consumers. We had about 5,000 consumers. And for a 1-month period, every time that they would go shopping, within 24 hours of completing the shopping trip, they would do an exit interview. And we had 57 questions at the store level, 36 questions at the product category level to measure these different aspects of shoppability. And there were 5 general dimensions and 9 specific factors that we had identified. The most important factor that was driving shopper engagement, conversion, satisfaction, and loyalty was relevance. And what I mean by relevance is the store has in stock the products that you're looking for at a competitive price. It's not necessarily the lowest price, but it's a fair price that the consumer perceives. And if you've look at the success of Walmart over the years, what does Walmart do? They make sure that they have the products that shoppers want in stock at a competitive price. A second factor is transparency. Transparency is when you walk into the store, you see what there is to see. It's easy to navigate. Products are clearly organized. The products that you're looking for are visible. A third dimension is convenience. This is the time and effort that's necessary to shop. And these 3 dimensions, relevance, transparency, and convenience, we find that retailers need to provide a good experience or it drives strong dissatisfaction. Now, 2 other factors that we've identified. One is assurance. What I mean by assurance is the shopping environment clearly communicates the benefits and value of the products that are provided. And the 5th is enjoyment, that the shopping environment satisfies the incidental and contextual needs of the shopper. The retailers who score well on these dimensions drive the highest levels of satisfaction. They delight the shopper. But sometimes what people say and what they actually do are 2 different things. And so we've also conducted behavioral research. And in some cases, we'll just track the movement of shoppers in a variety of ways to do that. Over the years, people have used RFID, they've used Wi-Fi, Bluetooth tracking, video cameras to do tracking. So here's an example of a project that was done with one of my collaborators, Oyvind Christensen. And he'd looked at real estate offices. You know how in real estate offices they often will have a display window where they'll have properties shown. Well, for the existing display, they only had about 12% of the passerby traffic, the prospects, who would actually stop and look at these listings. And of those people, they were spending only about 6% of them were spending 5 to 9 minutes looking at these listings. So they made 2 changes. One was that they organized the listings. They grouped them by the number of rooms in the apartment or the home. They classified apartments separately from villas, and they also added some lifestyle signage. Those changes increased the number of people who stopped and looked at the displays by 52%. And it tripled the number of people who spent 5 to 9 minutes looking at the display. Another example of tracking is some work that we've done using video cameras. And the nice thing about video cameras is you can see not just where people go in the store, as with RFID, but the size of the shopping party and how they interact with sales associates and so forth in the store. And so we were working with an apparel retailer, and the challenge that they had was that even though they allocated about equal amounts of space in their store for men and women, only about 30% of their sales were to men. So we did some tracking research. We put cameras in the store, and so here's at the top you see there's a panoramic video camera that we put in the ceiling, and those blue blobs are the shoppers. We wrote some software that could anonymously track the shoppers as they move through the store, and then you have the floor plan that's shown at the bottom. So how did men shop the store? Well, they come in and they'd stop at the lead fixture where a lot of the new products were displayed. And then they go to the back of the store. So what's in the back of the store? These are the clearance items, the sale items. And if they didn't see something that they'd like, they left the store. So how do you get the shopper to engage with the merchandise that's in the center of the part of the store? So we did two things. One is, men often have difficulty putting together outfits when they're shopping. So we looked at the point of sale data, we looked at what men were buying together, and we created something we call the Style Center. So this is not breakthrough thinking in retailing, it's just providing people with solutions. But we were using this behavioral data rather than fashion designers to come up with these outfits to simplify the shopping process. But the other thing that we found was that some of the men, when they come into the store, they would pick up the merchandise and then they would struggle to fold it and put it back in the same way. So what we did was, instead of doing the normal crease fold for the product, we just folded it in half and put it on the shelf display to make it easier for them to simulate, thinking about picking up the product and purchasing it. Those two changes caused an 85% increase in product touch and about a 40% increase in sales. So we haven't changed the product assortment, we haven't changed the prices. All we've done is do a better job of connecting what's in the mind of the shopper with what's physically in the store. We've also done eye tracking research to look at the patterns of the shopper's visual attention in the store. And we've done work in the laboratory where consumers are using monitors and do shopping, but we've also done mobile eye tracking studies. So here's what the technology looks like. This is the Tobii glasses that we've used for a number of projects. Now we're using the newer version of this. But these glasses have 3 cameras. One that looks out so you can see where the shopper's facing. One that looks at the shopper's eye so you can see their eye fixations. And then there's a third camera that's an infrared camera that can pick up markers that we've placed around the store so we can track the location of the shopper. So what do people see as they're navigating through the store? Well, here's a video clip. Let's hope that this plays. Here's an actual shopper walking down the aisle. And it looks like they're on roller skates. You see how fast they're moving. They see a product that they're interested in. They grab it. Boom, it goes into the shopping cart, and they're off to the next product category. So as they look through the store, they tend to look just about 4 feet off the ground. Let's see if we can bring up the heat map. So this heat map, the red areas are where the visual attention is most concentrated. This is where more people are looking, and they're looking for a longer period of time. And they make a decision in just a couple of seconds about whether a department or product category is relevant. And if it's not, they're off to the next part of the store. Their attention is often drawn to unique stimuli in the store, like this buy one, get one free offer for potatoes. And navigating through the aisles, they might see a in-aisle display If you take a product off the shelf and you put it on one of these displays, it boosts the level of attention about 4 times in the studies that we've done. Now, shoppers' goals also have a big impact on visual attention. So let's say that you're walking through the grocery store and you're not shopping for produce. This is what you see. If you're shopping for tomatoes, this is what you see. If you walk past the bakery and look at the display, there's often a strong centrality bias. You tend to look towards the center of the display. If you're shopping for donuts, it's like the whole display case lights up. So how can we use this kind of research to improve the shoppability of the shelves? We've done a number of studies where we've simulated the shelf display. We've mocked up different shelf displays, and we experimentally change the arrangement of the products, the appearance of the packaging, the adjacencies, and we ask shoppers to find a specific product as quickly as they can. We give them a shopping list. So what influences the findability of the product? Let's say that we ask people to find Frosted Cheerios, and we just give them the name Frosted Cheerios. It takes them about 9.4 seconds and 25 eye fixations to find the product. On the other hand, if we give people a picture of Frosted Cheerios and say find it as fast as you can, it only takes 2.5 seconds. Let's say we give you a picture of Golden Grams. Now, this is a product, it's in the lower left-hand part of the shelf in this example. It's in a gold package, but you notice that Cheerios and shredded wheat are also in gold color packages. It takes the shopper 5.7 seconds to find the product. Now, if we ask the shopper to look for a more distinctive package, like the Apple Jacks, which is in the green box in the left, it only takes 1.1 seconds to find the product. So package distinctiveness is important. Shelf space, of course, is important. We're always fighting for shelf space. If you're looking for post-brand flakes and they're 2 facings, it takes you 3.3 seconds to find the product. If we expand that to 4 facings, it only takes you 2.1 seconds. So it has an impact, but not as much as some of these other dimensions. Even how neatly the shelf is arranged affects how easy it is to find the product. So let's say that we ask the shopper to find Golden Grams and the packages aren't lined up evenly. It takes the shopper 8.2 seconds and 20 fixations to find the product. If you straighten the shelves, it's only 5.7 seconds. And we've identified a number of interesting relationships. One is, let's say that there's a product that's out of stock. Even if the product that's out of stock is not the one that you're looking for, it increases the amount of time it takes for the shopper to find the product, and they're more likely to give up looking for the product, even if the product is available. So the last type of analysis that I'd like to discuss today is shelf interaction analysis. Now we're going beyond just looking at where the shopper is in the store, how they're navigating the store, and examining their interaction with the shelf. Which products they pick up, the sequence of interactions, how long they spend, and what they eventually purchase. And to motivate this discussion, I want to start with an example of merchandising a shelf display and assorting a product shelf display just using sales data. So what does the retailer know? They can track the product sales, trend, look at gross margin, direct product profitability, look at productivity, and if you were to optimize the performance of a shelf based on that information, what could you do? So this is an example. It comes from Scandinavia, and in this store, all of the haircare products were sold in just a 6-foot section of the store, and the question is, how can we improve the performance of this shelf display? So if you look at the sales data, I've overlaid it here. Just for the shampoo and conditioner products, these are the average number of units that are sold per day of each of these products. And so what can we do? Well, some of these products, clearly the sales are lower. You have less than half of a unit that's sold per day. So you might allocate less shelf space for these products or move them to a lower shelf position, or there's very little sales, you might delist the product and replace it with something else. Other products that are on the shelf are moving more quickly. Maybe you give those products a more favorable shelf position. And so the exercise that we did, we actually had a retailer who was working with us, and initially they allowed manufacturers to come in, make recommendations for changes to improve the shelf performance. And so the changes that they made were to take the faster selling products, put them closer to eye level, either reposition or delist the products that were not doing as well. And they don't want to lose that shelf space, of course, so then they put in some new products. And the sales result, here's what the updated shelf display looks like. And the sales results were that some of the brands gained sales, some lost sales. But when you look at, and so the green is the unit sales per item for the items that increased sales. The red is the sales that decreased. And the blue are the new items that were introduced into the category. But even though some of the brands benefited, some lost, the overall category sales did not improve. So what can we do to optimize the performance of the entire category? Well, what the retailer really wants to know is not just the sales of the product, the current sales for the product, but what's the sales potential? If I was to put the product, attract more visual attention to the product or communicate more value, what's the opportunity to improve the sales? What are the substitutabilities of the products on the shelf? Is an item providing unique value, or is it a substitute? And then what are the drawing powers of the products on the shelf? Which the products are signpost brands that help the shopper to navigate and bring them into the category? So the methodology that we've used is, and this is, as I'd mentioned, collaborative research with Sandeep Chandukala and Oyvind Christensen. We use a 3D camera that's positioned above the shelf display that can track how shoppers interact, what they pick up, what they return to the shelf, and the order of interactions. And so you can distinguish between grab-and-go purchases where someone comes in and they know what they're looking for, they pick it up, and they leave. So here's an example, a video clip of the tracking. Shopper comes in, they find what they're looking for, and they're off. Or we can see cases where there's extended decision-making. The shopper has a longer shopping time. There's more search. Often you'll have lower conversion rate. Here's another individual we're tracking. They come in, pick up a product. No, that's not the one I want. Find something else. So as we're tracking the shopper, we can see how much effort is it taking to interact with the shelf, the time that's involved, the physical movement between products, the consideration set, the specific items that are being compared. So this is what we see if we're just looking at the sales data. The green spots are the items that were sold. But with the tracking, we're able to get a more detailed picture of the shopping process. When people picked up an item, the order, which items were retained. So in the past, we've looked at sales, and these two items look like they're performing about the same. So the one on the left is a shampoo product. The one on the right, balsam, is a conditioner product. And the sales are about the same. But when we overlay the information about the interaction with the shelf, you see that the dark green area is the percentage of shoppers, or the number of shoppers who just grab and go with the product. The lighter green is the group that takes longer and considers other products while they're shopping. The yellow are people who pick up the product but end up buying a different product. And the red area are the lost shoppers. These are people who interact with the product but then leave the category without buying. And as you look across the different products that are sold, you see very different patterns. The sales are different, but some of these products, there's a lot of effort that's being expended and the product is not being purchased. And that is an opportunity to improve the shoppability. So let's drill down into the shampoo category and use that as an example. We found that, and this is tracking over 90,000 visitors to the shampoo category, The average time from when you enter the category to the time you first pick up shampoo is 22 seconds. That's a long time to be spending in the category. And of the people who pass the shelf, only 3.4% of those people make a purchase in the category. 15% of the people who shop the shelf leave without making a purchase. So when we looked at the performance of the individual brands, we found that this plots the number of interactions with each of the product, but in orange it also shows the return ratio. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, but some of the products, like the one that I've highlighted here, has a 47% return ratio. So what that means is that on the occasions that people picked up that product off the shelf, half of the time they were putting it back without buying it. And if you looked at the specific product, you could see that that the labeling on the package made it difficult for shoppers to distinguish between the shampoo product and the conditioner product. So what was happening is they were often picking up the conditioner and then putting it right back again, because what they were really looking for in the category was the shampoo, and then they would end up buying the shampoo. So what do? To make it easier for customers to distinguish between the shampoo and the conditioner, we put the shampoo, all the products that were the shampoo on one shelf, all the conditioner products on the shelf below. That change caused a 21% reduction in shopper confusion. It reduced the time it took from the time that the shopper entered the category to their first interaction with the shampoo by 25%. It increased the conversion of visitors to the category to purchasers by 17.6%, and the shopper to buyer conversion ratio by 13.5%. So just making it easier for customers to identify the products that they're looking for. Another example, we were looking at how people shopped and the role that price played in the decision. And you saw that for some of the products, people were just picking up the lowest price product and buying it and leaving it, and they weren't really comparing alternatives. And it was a grab-and-go purchase, and so we felt that there was an opportunity to raise the price on some of these items. So you see the store brand product in the lower left-hand corner here was raised from 8.9, it's hard to see on my display, but 8 to 9, almost 10 kroner. This was research that was done in Norway. But the other insight that we gained from the analysis was that people, as they were shopping, if they shopped across a wide range of prices, the purchase conversion rate would go down. So people, for example, when they were shopping for Elvital shampoo, as they were, when they would shop between the different SKUs within the brand, as they looked across the alternatives at the different prices, the purchase conversion rate would go down. So what we did was we did consistent pricing across the product. So instead of the prices within the brand going from 35 to 26 to 24, we set them all equal to the same price to simplify the decision for the shopper, so they didn't have to make those price trade-offs. By making this change, we were able to maintain unit sales. We increased sales revenues by 13% and increased gross margin for the category by 86%. So just in summary, the insights that we can gain from this interaction analysis is identifying missed opportunities, so cases where people pick up a product but then decide not to buy it. We can look at the time and effort that's invested in cases where people are doing extended decisions, people are processing more information, they will be more open to new products and messages. When people aren't buying a product, we can see what are the nature of the lost opportunities. Are people buying substitute items? Are they buying a complementary product, or are they leaving the category without buying anything? What's the level of engagement? What are the products that draw the shopper into the category? Do we see cases where there's confusion, where people pick up a product and they quickly put it back again? and use these search patterns to determine why specific brands and SKUs are winning and losing within the category. So again, the overriding focus of this research is to improve the shoppability of the store, to help customers, as they're navigating through these aisles of products, to see what there is to see in the store, identify the products that are most relevant to them, understand the unique value that's provided by each item, and minimize shopper confusion and procrastination. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Here is my contact information. If you have questions, I'm certainly going to be here to answer your questions this afternoon. But if you have additional issues or questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me. We also have a website, of course, where we have papers and articles on different research projects. And I'd invite you, if you have a project that you're interested in doing in a retail store where you think that there might be an opportunity to apply some of these tools to understand shopper behavior, I'm certainly open to collaboration opportunities. I think there's so much to be learned through this type of interaction, and I sincerely appreciate the support of Marketing Science Institute to encourage this type of research. So I'm going to stop at this point and see what questions or comments people have.
Yeah, hi Ray, that's great. Fascinating presentation, and you said at the outset that some of the pioneering work you did, was supported by MSI. We're very pleased to see how this has developed and grown over the years. It's amazing how specific and concrete the types of recommendations you can make and the impact that those changes have on shopper behavior, on store sales, and so forth. So it's really a great example of generating new marketing knowledge, applying it, and really seeing the impact that it has. There are a couple of questions I'd like to run by you. We were speaking just before we began the webinar that you often get the question about to what extent these insights apply or can help you deal with price-sensitive shoppers or people who shop the everyday low-price outlets and things.
Sure.
I wonder if you could elaborate on that thought, because since that seems to be a common question, I suspect that others in the audience are asking themselves that as well.
Yeah, I think that there's a tendency, to fall back on prices as kind of the first marketing lever to use to try to encourage shopper engagement and increase conversion rate. I know my students, I teach a retailing course, and whenever there's a challenge, the students are quick to suggest, oh, let's give the shopper a coupon, or let's cut the price. But I think we have to look at the total psychological cost to the shopper when they're making these purchases. We've done studies where we've manipulated the ease with which customers can shop in an environment by changing how the products are organized, how the store is laid out, product adjacencies. And what we find is that if you make it the store more transparent, if you make it easy for customers to connect with shoppers that are connect to products that are relevant to them, their price sensitivity actually goes down. And I think that the reason is that when a store has in stock what you're looking for, it's clearly presented, the value is communicated clearly, then the shopper is inclined to go ahead and complete the transaction, even if now, of course, they're going to look at the price, but as long as the price is fair, the price is competitive, you'll see that they are less price sensitive in that case. But the other point that I think is important to make is that when you do this type of analysis, I was talking about the relative influence of these different shoppability factors. Those are going to have different weights depending on the retail context. You're going to see this in different markets. There was a study recently that was done by Dunn-Hunby that looked at the importance of different aspects of the store environment across countries, and you see differences there. It's going to be different by retail format, but I think in so many cases the stores that we shop in, they have the same product assortment. The prices are similar, and it's these other dimensions that are really going to do a better job of taking a shopping experience that was death by analysis and turning it into love at first sight.
That's great. I think it illustrates the point you made throughout, that this holistic approach, behavioral, attitudinal, looking at the actual, trial activity, if you will, putting things back on the shelf. You need to take all of those points into account as you're understanding the whole shopping experience, and that people are maybe unconsciously making trade-offs between convenience and price and things of that nature. And it's really nice to see the concrete demonstration of that. Just want to remind the audience again that you can use the chat with presenter function to send your questions through. We do have a question that says, first of all, great presentation, and then ask, how would you apply some of these tools or insights to e-commerce? That thought was occurring to me as well.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about that?
So the concept of shoppability, I think, applies across a variety of businesses and a variety of channels. In fact, I have a different presentation. If people are interested, send me a note. I have I can provide you with materials with more of an omni-channel focus and look both online and in connecting online with in-store to improve shoppability. But absolutely, you can look in the online environment at the organization and the presentation of information. It used to be the online environment was a very blind environment. You didn't know who was shopping there. You didn't know how they were interacting. And now there's so much detailed information with web analytics, and so you can track the conversion rate for each page and each link, and the power to do experiments, A/B testing online, and see what's really driving shopper behavior is tremendous. I think that the 5 dimensions that I had mentioned before, that is the work with Neil Morgan, absolutely apply to the online environment. But I do want to just go beyond that and say that these concepts, for example, in a medical context, I have a relative who needed a knee replacement, and we went into the waiting area of the hospital. And when you think about doing something like a knee replacement, it's pretty scary. It's normally you think about healthcare as being lasers and robotics and advanced pharmaceutical products, but doing a knee replacement is like sawing and hammering and gluing, and so there's a lot of anxiety. And so we went into the waiting area, and they had a display case, and it said underneath of it, "Donated by our former patients," and these were canes. Walking canes of people, and you look at that and you say, "Wow, they cured these people. Now they can walk." And so the idea of assurance is one example of a shoppability dimension. I think is critical in no matter whether we're talking about services or whether we're talking about business to business. So it's the generalizability issue is definitely I think there's an opportunity to apply these principles.
That's a great example, too, because it points up that sometimes very minor tweaks to the customer experience are going to have a major impact. That was not a huge investment, I suspect, on the part of the hospital to provide that display case, and yet it had obviously the kind of impact that makes it a repeatable story, for one thing. I want to come back to your example of using behavioral data to help the male shopper. I could relate to that very distinctly. Shirts and shorts that match and that sort of thing based on just observational behavioral data. It strikes me that's kind of the analog in a brick and mortar store to the readers who read this book also read this book. The kind of Amazon recommendations and things.
Sure.
So just more kind of elaborating on the earlier question about the sort of the confluence between the online-offline experience. Some people are calling it digitized now to capture the fact that it's neither online or offline. It's kind of a combination of the two, with people using smart devices in the store and that sort of thing.
Right.
So
right.
More thoughts about kind of how that can be applied.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the important factors to keep in mind is that the consumer is changing. The younger, if you look at the Gen Z consumer, they don't think about shopping online versus shopping in store. They just think shopping. And they'll use whatever channels are available, and they expect the experience to be consistent. They expect the same level of shopper awareness across the different channels, and so that creates an opportunity because people, now you can shop wherever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and creative marketers and retailers and manufacturers are responding to that with a lot of innovation. There are a lot of new ideas that are being tried with hybrids of digital and physical shopping. So Zappos, for example, has a pop-up store that they did in Las Vegas the holiday shopping season, where you could come into the physical store and they had digital displays of their products to interact. There's some luxury retailers who are experimenting with doing digital fitting rooms, magic mirrors in the fitting room, where you can go into the fitting room, pull up the complementary products for the product that you bring in that's recognized with an RFID tag, email your picture to a friend and get their feedback and so forth. So I think people are starting to take the shopping experience and decompose it into elements and then satisfy those requirements using whatever medium is most effective.
Yeah, that's interesting. When you mentioned at the outset that it's the 20th anniversary of your lab, it occurred to me that some of the technologies you helped pioneer and use are not going to be used just to do this kind of research that you're sharing with us, but that's becoming part of the in-store experience itself, and then that in turn, of course, generates all that much more insight and data for the retailers when people interact in those virtual environments in the store.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing a kind of what started out as maybe a research technique is actually becoming the store of the future.
Exactly.
Yeah. One last question for you, and then I think we'll wrap up. But you mentioned also early on in the presentation some of the points of friction is the term you used, the kind of the annoyances that people encounter in shopping, and a lot of the presentation was how do you discover and get around those. We recently had a discussion with member companies and academics about whether or not a certain amount of friction might actually be good. And let me give you a quick example. If a website serves up your ideal hotel choice and all you see are these ideal choices, you may feel you're being a little bit compelled to pick one of them. If you put a few non-ideal choices in there, it gives the consumer more an element of choice and control. They can decide among that set. And in fact, in this case, the person sharing this study said that they saw a better uptake on the recommendations when they put it in that environment. And that led to the notion that sometimes a little bit of friction, or maybe it's more choice and involvement of the consumer, is actually a good thing. It's possible to perhaps be too frictionless. And I just wondered if you had some thoughts about that based on your research.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that there are a couple of things. One is consumers like choice, and when you walk into the store, you like to have that variety available. Your needs are not always the same. You know, sometimes you're variety seeking. Discovery can be fun, surprise, but we need to make sure that the preferred alternative, the dominant alternative, is clearly visible and accessible to the shopper, that it's in stock. And I think by studying the pattern of how the shopper navigates, whether it's an online environment or the physical environment, and make sure that the most popular or recommended items are clearly available. But then if they want to spend additional time, if they want to explore, if they want to make trade-offs, that's available to them. But I think we can do both. I think we can provide assortment and make it easy to buy the most popular products using the data that we're collecting and understanding who's shopping for what are the trade-offs people are making, what are the products that are complements. The other thing that I'll mention just briefly about product assortment is we need to keep exposing people to new products that they have not seen before to really know what their demand is. You know, if you're always giving people back exactly what they say they want, then there's no new discovery, there's no new learning. So I think it's important to keep track of, you know, if the shopper has told us, hey, I don't have a dog, I never need to look at dog food, fine, okay? But if the shopper, you know, if you have regional products or you have innovations, we do need to be exposing people to these new products so that we can learn about what their preferences are.
That's great. As you said, some people are zeroing in on a given choice. Sometimes they just want to experience the variety, and that notion of serendipity is one thing that I think is going to keep brick-and-mortar stores in business for a long time to come.
Sure.
I really want to thank Ray again for a great presentation, a good Q&A session. If you did not get to the questions that you asked or had in the back of your mind, I do encourage you to follow up with Ray. He gave you his contact information, and I know from experience he's very interested to hear from you and help in any way he can. So please do reach out to Ray with any additional questions. Our next webinar will be held November 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and will feature Andrew Stephen of the University of Oxford. He will be speaking about digital marketing more broadly based on a paper that he has in the current special issue of the Journal of Marketing, which is co-sponsored with the MSI and the AMA. And if those of you who are subscribers and MSI members have access to those articles, I would have you check out our website to find out more about that. But again, we'll look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, November 29th. And again, thanks for the audience, and thank you, Ray.